Welcome to the Cyber Business Podcast, where we feature top founders and entrepreneurs and share their inspiring stories. Now, let's get started with the show.
Matthew Connor here, host of the Cyber Business Podcast, where we feature successful business leaders, top law firms, green energy companies, and more. Today, I have Chad Franzen here of Rise 25, who's done hundreds of interviews with successful entrepreneurs, investors, and CEOs. We've flipped the script, and today, Chad will be interviewing me. Welcome to the show, Chad.
Hey, thanks so much, Matt. Looking forward to it.
Me too. Before we get started with today's show, a quick word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by CyberLynx.com, CyberLynx.com. CyberLynx is a complete technology solution provider that ensures your business has the most reliable and professional IT service, and the only company that guarantees your safety and satisfaction. With CyberLynx advanced technologies, we protect our clients from cyber attacks, hardware failures, and technology-induced headaches. The bottom line is we provide all the services you need to be safe, productive, and profitable. From Chief Information Officer services to IT help desk services, we got you covered. And we do it without requiring a long-term contract because we believe in earning your business every day. Listen, Chad, we have a client in the healthcare industry that was really struggling with their technology. They were largely paper-based, and the technology they were using, even when it was working, was really challenging for them. It was impacting their productivity. We were brought in initially just to help them with their technology and to get it working. We did that, of course, but by using our Chief Information Officer services, they got the strategic guidance they needed to go from a paper-based process to paperless. We planned out the process, went through everything with them to ensure that everyone not only had the technology they needed, but got the training they needed to really use it well. The results were amazing. Their productivity went through the roof. They went from 0 growth to 35% growth in the first year and 40% growth in the second year. And these aren't uncommon results for our clients. So to learn more, visit cyberlynx.com or give us a call at 202-996-6600. Now back to our show.
Hey, Matt. Thanks so much for having me today. Great to be here.
Of course. Great having you.
We will be talking today about managed IT services and everything that goes into it. So if you could just give us kind of a broad definition, what is managed IT services?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, outside of the industry just aren't familiar with it. I mean, are you familiar with what managed IT services are, Chad?
I've heard managed IT services. I've heard those words used before. That's about it.
There you go. And I think that's the case for a lot of people. So managed IT services is really that. It's somebody manages all of the IT services for your company. And that sounds kind of silly and obvious, but what that really entails is when it's done right, you've got kind of your own IT department that's not in-house, right? You're outsourcing it, but they're handling all of your IT needs. And that varies, wildly between IT providers. Some people just do what you need when you need it. Hey, kind of like the dentist. You call up when you got a pain in your tooth. Sure, you can do it that way. Go in every time it hurts. Maybe not the best way to go about it, but there are a lot of companies that do just that. They're like, "Oh, come in, we'll fix your tooth," and then you leave and you don't follow up, and then you come back in when your other tooth hurts. And so that's called break fix, right? That's what we call break fix. So you wait until it's broken and then you fix it. And obviously, just like the dental analogy, that maybe isn't the best way to go about things, but it can be for some people all they need. So if you're taking care of everything and just occasionally you need a little help because you're like, it's above your pay grade when it comes to IT, it's like, okay, hey, I don't know how to do this. I could do most things that we need done, but this one, I'm kind of at a loss. Then it's nice to have somebody who just come in, fix it, and then go, and you've saved a nice chunk of change. It varies pretty greatly there.
Let me ask you about that break fix situation. Is that a situation where you would have like somebody on call, or is that a situation where you look online, try to find an IT person, have them come in, and fix the problem and then leave?
Sure. And it can be both. And I'd say that I think it's probably best to kind of have your dentist picked out and you're like, oh, I like this person. They're really good. great bedside manner, if you will, and they do a great job. So I'd find that, and then just kind of stick with that same dentist, if you will, not to kind of beat this dental analogy to death, but I think it's really applicable in the break fix side. So yeah, you generally don't have to have them on retainer or anything like that. And they usually come in, they bill by the hour, and you pay them right there, usually with credit card or a check. And it's quick and easy.
So there is kind of that break fix hourly type of IT services, a type of IT service. What are some other ones that exist?
Sure. So then, up from that break fix is kind of the fully managed. And fully managed, you've got everything taken care of for you, and it usually comes with at a relatively fixed cost, where you're like, look, they're going to handle they're going to manage your antivirus, manage updating everything, make sure your firewalls are updated, your servers are done right. So really, everything you need in terms of security should be part of that. It's not always. So sometimes some companies focus purely on the service aspect, where you get what they call help desk service. So you call up, just like you would if you called up Apple for customer support or tech support. You call up and you get somebody, or if you were part of a larger organization, if you've ever been a part of a large organization, you call up there, your IT help desk or your IT department, and somebody's there to answer your questions and give you, resolution pretty quickly. And normally with that fully managed service, they're tied into your system, so they can remote in pretty quickly. They're monitoring everything, managing stuff, keeping things from breaking, fixing them very quickly when they do break. And then there's just a large degree of differences, I suppose, or they vary from one IT provider to another as to what they actually do. So it's good to kind of find a group that has everything that you need. But yeah, and that's the fully managed. And outside of fully managed, then for the larger organizations, you even have what they call co-managed. So if you already had an IT department, and let's say you wanted help on the cybersecurity side, great. So that's where co-managed would come in. Your IT department would keep doing all the hands-on day-to-day, work, and then you would outsource the cybersecurity part. Or you maybe have your IT department working on the projects and things like that, and then have the day-to-day maintenance and security stuff handled by an outside firm. So that becomes really cost effective for a larger firm, because it's cheaper than buying, some cybersecurity expert to come in. You'll pay handsomely for that. You can get an IT help desk person a lot cheaper than you can a cybersecurity person. So you're paying 3-4 times as much. So it becomes a whole nother ballgame. So financially, that makes a lot of sense.
So, I've worked at a lot of places like smaller radio stations, places where we basically just hope that nothing goes wrong. And if we do, we have a guy who kind of knows a little bit about computers, but maybe he'll be able to fix it, maybe not. What is the benefit to being fully managed as opposed to having somebody just come in whenever, kind of, on call, or have a break fix hourly type person?
Yeah. So I guess the real advantage to having the managed over the break fix is, on the managed side, you're going to have a much more a fixed cost. So you're going to be able to say, hey, look, our budget for IT this year is going to be X number of dollars. You'll know exactly what it is. You'll have that help available right away. For break fix, you could wait hours or a day or so before you get resolution to your problem. And depending on how bad that problem is, that could bring your whole organization down. If it's something that's taking out your entire internet connection, okay, your router goes bad or has some issue or whatever. That's tough to be down for a whole day. That's a lot of lost productivity. So having that managed, and then not having additional cost to resolve those problems, to know, okay, we're going to pay X dollars a month and all of our problems are solved. That's great. On top of that, you go from, going back to that whole dental analogy, you go from being reactive to proactive, saying, hey, look, when you're bootstrapping and you're just starting up, uh, unless you're starting up with some decent financial backing, I don't think you really should be necessarily considering managed services, or fully managed IT services, because that is in that initial startup. If you have enough tech savvy to get going, and you've put it all together, then great. If not, then you can use that break fix model to have somebody come in until you start generating revenue. But if you're putting together your startup, honestly, if you have somebody who is guiding you, so the difference between managed services and then those chief information officer services, which some people include in their managed services, some don't. And I think we heard about that in the initial sponsorship message here. Those chief information officer services can be really helpful when you're starting your company to say, hey, look, this is what we want to do. What's the right technology to do this? Because you start going down the wrong path, and then you're changing, you're using this technology. Oh, that wasn't quite right. You're using this. So your whole company, while you may be small and nimble, it's really costly to, no matter how large you are, to be transitioning. You lose productivity, people's morale goes down. They got to learn the new thing. So much easier to have be going down the right path from the get. So I think that's really a huge benefit for most companies. They start thinking of technology like, well, I know a guy who can fix this. My kid's really good with technology. I just have him come in, fix, can you reboot the router? And the kid fixes it. Fine. That's it's a whole nother one when you're talking about your professional organization moving in the right direction, having the right strategic guidance. So, you might start your business off without good financial, coverage, right? You don't have good advice on how to put together your books. You don't have good, financial advice on tax strategy. You might do that. A lot of companies do. But if you do it right from the get, you're going to save yourself a ton of money and you're going to go down the right path. So same thing applies to IT. And I think a lot of businesses miss that.
Who can benefit from managed IT?
Well, I think that honestly, everybody from the initial startup to mature companies, just about everybody. It's not one for residential clients. So the home user, not so much. It just doesn't make a lot of sense for home. A lot of the things that we do on it's really a business to business type thing. On the break fix side, a lot of IT companies provide service to residential clients. We don't, for a variety of reasons, but mostly because we focus on on ROI for our clients, our whole thing, and there's no real ROI for a home user. I mean, there's just not. It's it's annoyance, sure, but the real benefit to having good advice, good service, good anything is how this helps your company make more money. And so that's really a focus for ours. So I'd say any company that is actually looking for to make more money, to be more productive, to improve their bottom line, your technology is at the heart of that. And I think that becomes really clear when you think about it in a way like internet. If your internet obviously pays for itself, could you imagine running your business without internet? That's crazy. It might as well be running your company without electricity, right? It used to be the electricity goes out and business grinds to a halt. Now, if the internet goes out, the same deal. So, and obviously you wouldn't run a business without having any internet connectivity, and that's because it clearly pays for itself. The advantages are very obvious. And once you get down that path with managed IT and getting the right guidance, the same thing happens. You're like, where would we be without this? I mean, you take a look at that healthcare company example, that we talked about earlier. It's night and day. That company went from very 1980s, 1990s kind of operation. Well, to be fair, they were using some internet and stuff. So I'd say mid 90s operation to a very modern, very streamlined operation. So it's just night and day. So I think just about every business can.
Let's transition a little bit from managed IT services to cloud services. Can you kind of give me like a broad definition of cloud services for those who are kind of unfamiliar?
Sure. I think a lot of people have heard the term
Hmm.
cloud services. They've heard what cloud is, and at the end of the day, what it really is taking those important things, that usually reside on servers, and moving those to a data center. And you think, well, why would you want to do that? Well, because when you do that, the data center's got redundant power. It's got redundant internet connection. So your internet can go down because your internet service provider has an outage. Well, at a data center, they have multiple coming from different directions, so that if, for whatever reason, something happens on this side of the building, they're still getting internet on the other side of the building. And same with power. They've got multiple battery backups, generators, you name it. And then the same goes with the data. It doesn't just reside on one server. It resides on a cloud of servers. So multiple servers have to go down. So the uptime for something when it moves to the cloud goes through the roof. The odds of it going down, going out, and you not having access to your data, or a particular service is very, very small. So that's the idea of the cloud. Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about kind of the specific cloud services that are available, people can utilize.
Sure. So when it comes to cloud services, and a lot of people, they're, whether they realize it or not, they're already using them. I mean, your email, hopefully, is a cloud service. If you're using Microsoft 365 or Google Workplace, those are cloud services. And when was the last time you tried to get onto your Gmail account or your Google Workplace or your Microsoft account, and the service wasn't available? That has never happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. I mean, and if it did, it happened for a fraction of a second, and you likely thought it was your internet, and it probably was your internet, right? So those are examples, and really, for cloud services like Microsoft 365, I think it's a lot like your. Do you use Office products like Microsoft Word or Excel?
Yeah, all those. Yeah.
All right. So the funny part about those is you can do so much with them. I mean, it's amazing. If you've ever used Excel, that the depth that you can go in Excel is spectacular. So these power users who do amazing stuff, you're like, wow, Excel can do that. I mean, you can write code back there. You can make it do all kinds of stuff. But most people use a tiny sliver, 5% ish of the technology, in any of their apps, right? So Word, Excel, you name it. So it's almost like we're using glorified, typewriters, right? We're using digitized typewriters. That's basically what it is. And we're sending, mail very quickly. So the bulk of what people do is very top of the, just surface level. What they can do once they're shown and they're helped, to better leverage more of that without investing any more money, they can do so much more with the existing technology. And I think that Microsoft 365 or Google Workplace is a great example of that, because when you may be hosting your email with Microsoft, but you get with that, you get your OneDrive. So OneDrive, for those that aren't familiar, is this, it's a cloud file server, right? It synchronizes files on your computer with the cloud. So that if, let's say, you drop your computer and it go, or whatever, something happens to your computer, all your files still exist on the cloud and you can access them from anywhere in the world. Fantastic. Really helpful. That comes free with your Microsoft 365 account. So you're like, wow. Now, if you don't set up backup on your OneDrive, and a lot of people never even sign into their OneDrive, you're missing out on that whole benefit. Completely free, right there for you. But it's those, little things like that that really add up, because then, that same example, let's just use OneDrive, the one of many, many things that you're getting for free that you're likely not using. You drop that computer, or the hard drive just crashes, or let's say the operating system won't boot up. Now you got to have somebody come in, recover the data, and if it was a hard drive that that can cost thousands of dollars to recover that data, and that's ridiculous. If it's important and you didn't have it backed up, like, okay, you bite the bullet and you pay thousands of dollars. Well, that could have all been very nice and safe for $0 had you just known that was the technology that was available and used it. So there are tons of examples like that.
So, I'm probably old enough to be pre-cloud. My dad is
Mhm.
definitely old enough to be pre-cloud. He probably thinks, I'm not saving it to the cloud. I like to have it on my computer. He's probably being less safe than if you just save it to the cloud.
Oh, 100%. And it's not even, so for those people who think the cloud's not safe because it's safer on my computer, it's funny because those same people, unless they're keeping all of their stuff very up to date on their computer, they're at greater risk of theft, of having that data stolen. They think that if I put it on the internet, somebody's going to get it. Well, the funny part is Microsoft and Google and all these cloud providers have done a really great job of building in really good security to to their cloud. So on their end, when it goes to the cloud, it is completely encrypted. Microsoft can't see it. Google can't see it. They don't have access to the actual data at rest. So when it's sitting there, it's there encrypted. They don't have access. Now, let me preface that. Um, there is a caveat in that if you're using a free service like Gmail, you're using your free Google Drive account, and I'm not picking on Google, same goes for Microsoft. If you're using a free service, the way they're making their money is from your information. So that's the exchange that you're giving up. You're giving them access to your conversations, your data, your everything. And people are like, what? No, I just thought it was nothing is free. We've heard this our whole lives. Your data isn't, your Gmail is no different, right? And why would you expect it to be? So, in any event, so going back to your dad who may think that, oh, it's safer on my computer. When it goes to the cloud and they don't have access to it at all, you getting access to it, having to use multi-factor authentication to get in, it's incredibly secure. So, and then even when, you travel and you try to log into your account, from another country, it's a bit of a pain in the butt because you got to prove that it's you, which is exactly what you want. So you don't want somebody from another country logging in, accessing your stuff, or even another town, or even in your same town. You don't want somebody who's not you logging into your data. And so they've built that in very nicely. And at the end of the day, once again, it's just about using that free technology that's there. So it's there. If you don't set it up, it's funny. We got a call yesterday from a client, and this was back long ago. We used to do residential clients when we first started up, and we would take any business. That's just how you do when you're first starting up, until we figured out our niche and how we could really help. And this was a lady. She was a great gal. She called up in a panic because we hadn't helped her in many years. And she called up because she had gotten a call from Microsoft. She'd gotten this pop up on her screen. She couldn't do anything. It said a security alert. Your computer's been hacked. Blah, blah blah. Call this number. She calls up and they say that they're Microsoft, and they get access to her computer and they get rid of the pop up, and they're like, and then her husband comes in. He's like, "What are you doing? That's a scam." And she's like, "I don't think it's a scam. It's Microsoft." And so so they call us like in between when the guys were actively working on her computer, and they call us up. I'm like, yeah, it's 100% a scam. So we had our guys go in there, got her all cleaned up, and got the bad guys out. But it's just funny how had she had some of these little free things like multi-factor authentication set up. So we advise her, you got to have this on all of your accounts. Like, she showed them that they could get into her, she could get into her bank. You just showed the bad guys how to get into your bank account. Your password saved right in the browser. They now have access to your bank account. That's really, really bad. So how to go through and get, just click on multi-factor authentication, go through the process. So it's those basic things. It's all there. You just need the right guidance to get you there. So in any event, it was funny.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, so we've talked about cloud services, managed IT services. Last question for you: how would somebody go about choosing an IT service provider?
Sure. So I think that there's a lot of factors involved. And I think at the end of the day, no matter how good somebody is with technology, they should be great with technology. But I think you need to interview numerous IT service providers and make sure that one, their culture and personality mixes with your company. A lot of times you get people who are just very tech focused. They're not very customer service oriented, and that may work for certain organizations. I don't think it works for a lot or most, but it does for some. So I think you want to make sure you've got a good cultural fit between them. And I think no matter what level you're at in your company, you want to make sure that you can get those really good chief information officer services, because those services are really going to help you leverage all the technology to improve your business. So having your computers work and everything, that's a must. And I think a lot of companies can do that for you. And some companies offer those chief information officer services, and you should definitely interview them and discuss that, see how that can benefit you. Make sure that there's a real ROI for the services, whether it's the managed services or the chief information officer services. It's easy to go out there and buy services and waste a lot of money. So I'd focus on, how do you get that ROI? Where's that come from? And is there a good cultural fit? If you do those things, I think that you're going to be okay.
Okay, sounds good. Hey, Matt, it's been great talking to you today. Very educational, very informative as always. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chad. Appreciate it.
Take care. So long, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Cyber Business Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.